Warning, the following contains spoilers. And I'm serious because we are going to be talking about the character of Ai Hoshino. Hoshino from the series, from the anime slash manga series, whichever, whether you read the books. I'm going to be focusing more on the books than the anime because the anime because I feel like the animes we're getting closer and closer to I feel like the anime is getting closer to its conclusion, to catching up with the manga series. But what I'm going to be talking about is the actual manga series rather than the anime. But you have been warned if you haven't read the manga, because it's all out. It's all out, published and out there for us to see, for us to read and see it for what it is. So we are going to be talking about the character of Ai Hoshino and from the series of Oshinoko. I really couldn't stop thinking. I really could not stop thinking about the tragic loss of Ai Hoshino, who I thought was going to be the main character. I mean, her face was everywhere. Like it was all over the posters. When I opened High Dive on, on my Amazon, I opened Amazon, and then I went to High Dive, the streaming service, and the character of Ai Hoshino was plastered everywhere, and I'm like, who is this character? She looks cute and adorable. She looks like a little girl. She looks like a little girl, but she's cute and adorable at the same time. I mean, I don't know. And then she gets brutally stabbed, and it's a show like I thought Oshinoko was going to be like I thought Oshinoko was going to be like I went into the anime. I went into the anime like expecting, not reading the premise, not reading anything, just press play, just going in completely blind. And I thought, watching, looking at the poster, I'm going to be getting like a cute and adorable, anime with singing, dancing, and performing. Instead, I do get that, but it I get the character of Ai Hoshino gets brutally stabbed. It's a show about like it's a mystery, it's a mystery drama show, and it focuses on her kids and reincarnation and so much some supernatural themes are present in this series, and it is so like well, it's definitely polarizing and controversial. Well, especially the ending. The ending was controversial. I didn't like the ending. It felt rushed, especially with the character of Aqua killed himself, who killed himself to protect his sister and to protect his mother's legacy. But whatever. This video isn't about Aqua, Ai's son. This is about Ai herself. Now throughout the series, throughout the manga series, we get to see glimpses of Ai's past. Her relationship with her abusive mother, and her relationship with the growing up in the orphanage. She had a rough childhood, and the creator of the show of the series, Aka Akasaka, didn't really. There was no prequel. We didn't get to see, Ai's, full, backstory, the orphanage and everything in complete full detail, bit by bit. We get like moments here and there in the actual original series, but not like from beginning to end. There was no prequel. So when she got killed, when I got brutally stabbed, I was like, it was like, okay, it was a realization for me that, oh, I guess she's not the main character. It's her kids. Her kids are the main characters, are the two main characters, Aqua and Ruby. But anyway, we're gonna be I this video is going to be me and a lot of fans. It's not just me, but me and so many fans of Oshinoko who have questions, who have asked questions, and I will be answering those questions. Well, I'll be answering some of them, but the rest of them is just going to be like me, just basically me addressing these questions, and whether or not we're going to get answers is completely up to the creator of the series himself. Um, but anyway, the series creator Aka has shared that the character of Ai Hoshino, was originally meant to live. The original creative plan, diving into it. Um, Initially, Aka intended Ai to stay alive and active in the entertainment industry with her children for a significant portion of the story. But the reason that Aka changed from her, for her being alive to her, killing the character off, was because Akasaka felt like the character was too strong as a character and would outshine her children, Aqua and Ruby, potentially hindering their own character development. I mean, like, I mean, like, this is, I mean, I was a huge popular and famous Japanese, idol, Japanese pop idol. And if Oshinoko was just about, her giving birth to kids, and her, surviving and thriving in the entertainment industry, where would her the development of her kids go? Like, now there's a reason. So that's the reason why he killed her off, why he chose to kill her off, so that they have a reason, a motive to develop and grow as characters. Ruby, the daughter, wants to be an idol to honor her mom's legacy, and meanwhile, on the other hand, Aqua, Ai's son, looking for revenge, is on a path for revenge to find out who is the mastermind, who's responsible for her mother's death. Which we find out is the dad, who's, the sadistic son of a bitch dad. Um, but biological father. Anyway, yeah. I guess Akko needed a push for these characters, and that was the push for their characters' developments. Could I survived? Could the character of Ai Hoshino survived? Within the lore, fans and the author have explored what if scenarios, like medical intervention. Some fans suggest that if Aqua had been able to use his past medical knowledge as a doctor more effectively, or if help had arrived sooner, she might have survived the stabbing. Like, I mean, but like, I know he's just a little kid. I know he's a doctor inside. I know he was a doctor reincarnated as the son of a pop idol, of his favorite pop idol. But I mean, I guess you could argue that he's just a kid. I mean, he's just a kid. I mean, a baby. He's just a baby. What could a baby do to stop that bleeding? To Babies do what babies do, which is cry. Which is cry when their mother, lies bleeding. When their mother lies bleeding, all babies can do, all little kids can do is cry. Um, but yes, I mean, of course, if the paramedics, if the ambulance had arrived, just uh, stepped on it, if they stepped on the gas pedal and just drove like fucking 100 miles. I don't fucking know. 100 miles. I don't know the speed limit. Well, actually, whatever, whatever. We're not getting into that. If the paramedics had arrived sooner, maybe and rushed her quickly and immediately to the hospital, there would have been a slight chance, just a slight chance that yes, she would survive. Another big question is, can Ai Hoshino return? Reincarnation is one of the themes of Oshinoko. Unlike Aqua and Ruby, it is stated that in the series, in the manga series, that Ai's soul was collapsed or destroyed, meaning unfortunately she cannot be reincarnated, which I think is utter bullshit. And just which I think is utter bullshit. Like the writer Aka could have, written something, and could have written something and another alternate idea that yes, she could be reincarnated and her soul remains intact and preserved, and yes, she would be reincarnated just as Aqua and Ruby. And but whatever. But whatever. I think it's because Aqua needed a reason. But I think it's because not Aqua. I think it's because Aqua needed a reason for people to just, just she's dead. It's a life lesson. Like we when we lose a loved one, we so badly want to just invent a time machine, spend an extra more minute, one more hour with our loved ones, but there's no time. But we don't live in a world with magic and fantasies and time machines. It's all fiction. It's all movie, media fiction. Um, and it's a life lesson that it hurts. It hurts, but it's a life lesson that through pain and through grief we have to move on. It's a struggle, but we have to move on with life. I think that's what the writer was trying to intend. But anyway, after her tragic death, while she doesn't physically return, her personality and presence are frequently revived through the acting of Akane, who studied Ai's behavior so deeply she could perfectly mimic her. And then there's the other big question. And then the big question, the biggest question is, why didn't she lock her door? Did did Aqua, did Ai Hoshino lock her door? No. The big obvious reason, the big reason, behind that is no, she did not lock her door or use the security chain. This single moment of trust or carelessness, whichever you want to use, is what allowed her stalker, Ryusuke, to attack her immediately when she opened the door. Why didn't she lock her door? It is a tragic realization. As she lays dying, I had a heartbreaking realization. Oh my God. And I quote, "So door chains are for times like this, huh?" That's what she said as she lay dying. It's a heartbreaking realization, heartbreaking and tragic realization that she didn't know. She didn't know door chains are for, security measures, or for security measures, or for security or defensive purposes, because of her backstory, because of her upbringing. She grew up in an orphanage. I grew up in an orphanage. She had a negative relationship with she associated door chains with being locked in by staff rather than a tool for keeping herself safe. No one taught her. She was never taught to use door chains for defensive purposes. And that is so unfortunate. No one, no staff members, not her asshole, mother, not her ex, definitely not her ex, like no one in her life, not her ex-husband, ex-boyfriend, whatever word you want to use, her ex. No one in her life taught her. It was just, I guess people thought it was like common knowledge, but no one told I, huh, door chains are for times like this, huh? She was never taught to use that door chains for defensive purpose. And of course, it was the big anticipation. At the moment the doorbell rang, she was excitingly expecting a visit, which contributed to her rushing to the door without checking any security measures. She was so excited for company and to have company brought over that she didn't look at anything. She didn't lock her doors. She didn't check security measures, nothing to protect herself. While, while the series notes that she was generally very careful with her privacy, her traumatic past ironically made her overlook the one security feature that could have saved her life. Her traumatic past with her horrible mother and her growing up in that shitty orphanage made her overlook the one security feature, that one thing. If someone taught hey, door chains, make sure to lock, don't forget to lock the doors. Door chains are very helpful for you, they protect you. They protect you and save you because the world is filled with strangers and people you don't know. You don't know, but no one told her that. And that's the one security feature that she overlooked and could have saved her life. But anyway, she didn't lock her door and she just fucking physically opened the door and got stabbed. And that is a big lesson too, because I do know, like, I don't know if Hoshino was based on any real life person, but I feel like yes, 100%. There are Japanese idols, K-pop idols. You know, there are people out there who who have been in a similar situation in like Ai Hoshino, and some of them tragically passed, and some of them tragically passed away, similar to Ai Hoshino. I can bet you that. And of course, there are a lot of alternate endings fans have created. Fans have created various alternate endings and what if scenarios to cope. That's hilarious. That's a funny word. You guys really love the character of Ai Hoshino, and she didn't deserve what she got. She didn't deserve what she got, but we were all coping it. The series tragedies, particularly the death of Ai Hoshino and the manga's official conclusion. Since the original author intended for Ai to live, many fans works explore how the story would change if she had survived the attack. The medical save, a common trope where Aqua uses his past medical knowledge as a doctor to stabilize Ai until help arrives. Instead of just being a kid, instead of being in shock, but like, again, yes, you're absolutely right. Yes, you're absolutely right. But the doctor is in a brand new body, is in a new body, and he not only is his favorite idol getting killed in front of him, but it's the same guy. He recognizes that it's the same you know, it's the same stalker who who confronted Aqua in his past life as the Doctor, and I guess he was in a traumatic state. He was in a trance, a traumatic. He was at the moment. He was shocked and confused. He was panicking. He had PTSD, and that is the reason why he just stood there, and that's the reason why he just cried. He cried in his mother's dying arms, and it's not just her idol. It's not just his idol that died. It's his mother. In this new life, it's his mother that dies. So, but yeah, he's just a kid. He's just a kid. Um, and of course the preventative intervention, fanfics like Oshinoko What If and alternate story introduce new characters or self-insert SI protagonists who intervene before the stalker can strike. And there is the time, and there is another, like, there is a survival scenario like time travel. In Second Chance, older versions of the twins travel back in time to save their mother from their fate. And there's also and also there's the Aqua Lives, and I will be talking a little bit about Aqua. I guess I lied about that. But people, including myself, was very unhappy and unsatisfied with Aqua's death in the conclusion at the ending of the series. People were so dissatisfied, including me. Like, really? That's how that ends? It just leaves. It doesn't. You know, his sacrifice. Aqua sacrifices himself. His sacrifice didn't close. It didn't. It didn't close. It didn't resolve anything. It just left everything is still open. All the doors are still open. You know, like, it didn't. His sacrifice meant nothing. Was nothing. Like everything else was still unresolved, and all the doors were still unlocked. If you know what I mean. Aqua sacrifices himself, but many fans have proposed endings where he survives, the perfect alibi. One popular fan-made ending, often referred to as the CN fan remake, has Aqua push his biological father, Hikaru, Hikaru, Hikaru off the cliff, but survive himself by creating a perfect alibi. He ends up in a relationship with Kane, while with Kana, excuse me, while Akane helps covers his tracks, which is my favorite fan made ending. That is my favorite fan made ending, and it was great. You know, it's a great ending to awkward to what we actually got. There's also the coma ending. Some suggest a middle ground where Aqua survives the stabbing but falls into a coma, eventually waking up years later to see Ruby performing at the Tokyo Dome. Happy ending. And of course, there's the arrest instead of death. Another version features Aqua and Akane successfully arresting Hiraku with Nino's help, allowing the Hoshino family to live happily with Miyako. With Miyako. So there's that. I personally prefer the perfect alibi, where Aqua pushed Hiraku off the cliff but survived himself, creating a perfect alibi, and Akane helps covers his track. That's my favorite one. But like, then what we actually got, like, what? Like, what? Like, he fucking stabs himself. Like, he stabs himself and they both fucking die, and what? He and his fucking dad dies off the cliff. It's like, what the hell? Whatever. I'm not. I don't choose that. I don't choose that ending. I wouldn't choose that ending. And of course, the And of course, the reincarnation loops. A more supernatural, it's a more supernatural fan theory suggests that if Aqua and Ruby die, they might reincarnate again as Ai's children in a different timeline, finally achieving the perfect happy life they missed out on. Living happily ever after, no dad, no negative bullshit, just happily ever after as a family, all three of them living, growing old together, having kids, raising kids, living a normal life. But yes, but yes, the creator of the series, Akasaka, discussed this, her survival in an interview, in a 2021 interview with Live Door News, which resurfaced and gained widespread attention following the anime's premiere. In the interview, Akasaka revealed that the decision to kill Ai was not part of the initial concept, but was born during serialization. Um, so there are some key highlights. The original vision was that the writer of this series planned Ai and her children to be active in the entertainment world together for a long period of time. The thing is, he had a problem, the too strong problem. The writer, Aka began drawing and writing her. He realized, huh, I is just too strong for a manga character. He felt like her presence was so overwhelming that she would have completely outshone Aqua and Ruby, preventing them from developing as their own characters. Like she's like I is going to be like booming. She's a pop star. She's a famous, popular pop star, exploding. Making headlines. What about her kids? Her kids. I guess her kids are going to be like this. What about the character development of her kids? What would that have been like? Like they just go to school, they go to school, they go to college, they graduate, go to college. Like the fuck? I mean, I feel like I mean, depending on, I just feel like no, I feel like Aqua would be an actor, would still be an actor, and Ruby would follow in her mom's footsteps and become an idol, just like her mom. And as I said in the beginning, if I would have survived, she would have transitioned from an idol to an actress, and Ruby would then step up, filling the role as an idol, while her mom becomes an actress as she grows old, grows old and starts aging. That's what I thought. But anyway, yeah, like preventing them from developing as their own characters. So yeah, there was a creative shift. Akasaka stated that once he considered that the story would what the story would look like if I were removed, the path forward suddenly opened up. He then consulted with the manga's artist, Mengo Yokorari, to finalize this tragic pivot. He realized that there's only one way for her children, to become fully developed characters, to have a journey, to go on this journey, to go on this adventure. It's to kill her. Is to unfortunately, I have to I have to kill her off. And which he talked to with the artist, and yeah, it was finalized. It was finalized. The two of them agreed, and they decided, yeah, we're gonna kill off the character. We have to kill off the character. We don't want to. We don't want to. I don't want to. But like, we have to kill her off so that we can develop the characters of her children as fully developed characters for the audience, for the critics, and for the fans to relate to. So yeah, yeah, the planned ending. Despite this early mid course correction, Akasaka has noted in other interviews that once the decision was made, he followed a preset scenario for the rest of the series. The interview confirms that the story fans know a dark revenge thriller was actually a second idea that replaced a much longer, more conventional story about a superstar mother and her talented children. Um, but yeah, diving into I and what happened. So as I was thinking about it, I was thinking to myself, what actually happened to the question, if you haven't read the manga, I'm sure your big question is what happened to I in the orphanage, because like she did not have a let's just say she did not have a good relationship with her mother, and she was raised in an orphanage. This is what happened. I Hoshino's time, she was raised in the orphanage, and her time in the orphanage was a period of profound loneliness and abandonment that defined her later inability to understand love. And why she was there, and why was I in the orphanage? Her mother was arrested. I was sent to a children's home or orphanage at a young age, around 9 or 10, after her mother was arrested for shoplifting and burglary. And the total abandonment, because of this, was the total abandonment after her mom was released from prison. She never returned to pick I up. Later learned that her mother had essentially disappeared, like off the grid, leaving no way for the police or lawyers to contact her. She just fucking left her daughter and her life and pieced out from life, from the world. Um, and that's unfortunate. That's really sad. That is so sad. And I really wanted to hug I so badly if I could. But yeah, her experience inside the orphanage, preferences for the facility. I mean, tragically, I often remarked that being in the orphanage was better than living with her mother, who had been physically abusive and once even put broken glass in her food. Yeah, her mother was a piece of shit and definitely suffered, and definitely, and I feel like I felt like at the moment when I was watching the anime, um, I felt like her mother was also suffering from some sort of mental. She had some mental health issues herself. Um, and of course, a social behavior. I never experienced genuine affection. She struggled to form attachments and was described as clumsy and asocial by those at the facility. And scouting, at the age of 12, while still living there, she was scouted by Ichigo. The facility initially resisted letting her work because she was a minor, requiring Ichigo to pay $20,000 to a facility to a facility. I don't know about that. I don't know about that in Japanese yen. Um, $20,000 to a facility official to act as her uh, guarantor, uh, guarantor, whatever. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, yeah. The psychological impact of all this is that the lies as love philosophy. With when Ichigo scouted her, I admitted she didn't know how to love. She didn't understand. She never experienced genuine love. She only experienced hatred. Her mother hated her. And I felt like she was extremely lonely and was like antisocial in the growing up in the orphanage, not really talking or making friends at the orphanage. um you know he famously convinced her to become an idol by suggesting that lies can eventually become the truth, which became the guiding principle of her life. And there's also the disorganized attachment. Fans and characters alike have noted that her upbringing left her with a deep fear of rejection and disorganized attachment style, which is why she frequently lied to protect herself from being hurt again. But yeah, but yeah, but that is what it is, and that is a very long and lengthy discussion. That was pretty much an that was pretty much a deep story about the character of Ai Hoshino and her life, her from the beginning, her mother being physically abusive towards I putting fucking broken glass in her food. What the hell's wrong with you? And she was arrested for shoplifting and burglary, and because of that, and because she was arrested, I was sent to an orphanage where it felt like, well, where she felt loneliness. She felt lonely and abandoned in the growing up in the orphanage, and then she got scouted and became, she was scouted and became an idol, an idol, and her giving birth to kids, and it's just, yeah, that's pretty much the origin and the story of Ai Hoshino. May she rest in peace. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it. I really do wish I would have survived in some way, some fashion, whether, but, it is what it is. And, yeah, that is the story of Ai Hoshino. Thank you so much, everyone. And I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace.